Hi, Hannah. We are really excited, aren't we? Because we spoke to Test Valley about a grant. They gave us quite a lot of money, and it's all around how we can maybe be supporting people with special needs a bit better. And I just wondered if you could say a bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. So this project has arisen from the grant which Sarah has secured from Test Valley Borough Council to try and improve the provision that's at St Francis for children with additional needs, complex needs, and learning disabilities. So that's sort of the catalyst really for us kind of pushing this project forwards. And it's moved on a little bit in the last couple of weeks in that we've held a focus group to look a little bit more at the needs of children with those additional needs, complex needs, and learning disabilities by talking to parents of children who are children now and children who have grown up into adults, and also bringing together people who work with children with additional needs as well, because there's a wealth of knowledge there, both from kind of lived experience and work experience as well. So there's about 10 of us that came together last week,
There were
and we
sweets.
there were
No,
sweets,
that
there were
was cool.
sweets. I think that one of the big things for me actually was that everybody talked about cake and we didn't
I
provide
know.
any cake.
They had
So
sweets.
I failed on that one. But yes, we got together and we had a really brilliant discussion, actually, really insightful. Lots of interesting points were raised by the experiences that were shared by the people that were part of that group. We sort of looked at what was going well at St Francis and the perception of the people that were there, what currently goes well for children and young people who have these additional complex needs or learning disabilities. We were also looking at areas for improvement as well, and kind of looking at kind of the wisdom of the families who live this experience or have previously lived this experience, and where we could do better. And it was very insightful that the families were able to actually give us some really good practical suggestions of how we can make improvements. Some of them are really small things that can have a really big impact. Some of them are bigger things that we'll need to work on a little bit more long term. And then we sort of moved on to thinking about what kind of barriers there are to attending worship when you have children who have additional or complex needs. And that was really insightful as well. And also thinking about kind of outside of the church situation, what are the barriers to families taking their children to kind of non-faith or more kind of secular groups like parent and toddler groups or play groups when their children have disabilities. And that's something that we can hopefully learn from as well. We also looked at what the people's experience of what good and supportive provision looks like for children and young people with these complex needs and disabilities, and then sort of started thinking a little bit more ahead as to what St Francis might be able to do.
So we have got a few ideas, haven't we? And I wonder if you might be able to share a little bit about what that is, what those ideas are, I should say.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think there's probably sort of almost two streams kind of running alongside each other. One is about how we can be more inclusive, and I know that's something that the church already has this huge heart for, is to try and ensure that everybody's needs are met. And something I think that came across from this focus group was about everybody being treated as an individual. And I think from some of the previous training, the roof breaker training particularly, that really came across in that. So this is a really big theme that's running through all of the information that we're kind of gathering, is ensuring that every single person, regardless of their needs, that they're all treated as individuals. And so little things that we can perhaps put in place to ensure that everybody's needs are adequately catered for. Some examples are some of the families were sort of expressing that their children find it quite difficult to come to events and services when they're not quite sure what's going to be there, what's going to happen throughout that afternoon. So something as simple as publishing the running order or the types of activities that are going to be happening during a particular session would really help their children to come in and feel settled far quicker than if they have to fact find that information as soon as they get here. We talked quite a lot about the physical church, the practicalities of the church, the what somebody might need kind of leading into church.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a video on the website to have a little look around so that they know where the access points are, what the rooms look like, what to expect when they walk into the building. Because for someone with additional needs, that's really important to help understand what's going to be facing them when they actually arrive physically on the site. And then something that the parents of children with additional needs were talking about was that need for support of other people who are in a similar situation to themselves.
Yeah, that
They
was
find
quite
it
cool at the
difficult.
group, wasn't it?
Really
Because we
cool.
had a
Yeah.
few
Yeah.
mums of children with currently lived experience, and that was really lovely to hear them talking.
Absolutely. And even with their children being different ages, so they
Yeah,
don't fall into the
yeah.
same sort of group, I suppose you could say, in terms of their age group, but the experience of some parents having lived that experience a few years ago, but it doesn't go away.
That's it.
They still have need to be supported, but be supported in a different way that you would need to support a parent who didn't have a child that had those additional needs. So the benefit of these parents coming together to gain support from each other,
Yeah,
although they're not living the exact same journey, they have a far bigger insight into each other's lives than someone who doesn't have a
yeah,
child with additional
absolutely.
needs.
Yeah.
And the benefits that they can get from having that support from each other is really vast. And having other people around them, there was lots of positive praise for the church at how supportive and welcoming it is, and that they feel very safe coming into this environment, which was really lovely to hear. But it's something to kind of build on, and I think looking more forwards and then bringing the grant into this kind of realm as well.
Yeah, how are we going to spend the money?
What do you think? I think there's scope to buy some sensory equipment which will enable us to ensure that there are provision for the children that have the additional and complex needs, so that there's something a little bit different for them that suits their needs. Perhaps something that we could do is look at providing a more calm kind of sensory room that's not static all the time, but something that we can change into a room to give children a little bit of a chill out zone or a calm down zone if they're finding everything a bit overwhelming in a messy church or a morning service or a cafe or whatever the event might be, somewhere that they can go separately with some pieces of equipment which actually are designed to kind of help calm or distract to settle them, so that they feel a little bit more in control. So I think sort of from a kind of looking forwards point of view, we're looking at buying some sensory equipment which will help from a kind of church perspective for the church services and activities from a community perspective that happen, but also looking at this kind of support that these families need. And bringing perhaps looking at putting together a support group for parents with their children who have additional needs. And I think something that came out of the group was very much that support doesn't just end when those children go to school. So although we could run something during the week for children, preschool children to come to, actually perhaps we invite, we have it open to parents of children with additional needs, because they have a wealth of knowledge and experience that they can help support the other parents with, but actually they can gain support themselves in that situation.
Brilliant. So we're thinking of just some pilot projects into next term, potentially. I mean, we're already piloting some of these thoughts and ideas through Messy Church, which is where some of the idea initially arose, because there were a few guys. One of the mums loves to say, that's my special kids. So we've got a few more special kids at Messy, and we really want to be able to serve them. But looking forward, we're thinking in terms of maybe some pilots.
Absolutely, yes. I think looking at a pilot sort of support group, perhaps with a bit of a harvest theme, and then maybe another one looking at a Christmas theme. I've met a few people over the last few weeks with this project in mind, as to how other churches and other establishments have put events on, and some really helpful advice was to do some pilots, to work out what works, work out what doesn't, so that actually when you do launch this a little bit more officially and regularly. So we'd really love to put something on every week for families. And actually something that came out of the focus group was, please don't stop it in the holidays, because it's needed all year round. So I think we're able to kind of look at some pilots and then hopefully kind of launch something weekly, ideally from the new year. That's kind of my aim at the moment. But obviously we need some hands to make this work as well.
Hannah, if anybody is interested in maybe helping, is that something they can talk to you about? Maybe
Definitely,
email you
yes.
about?
Absolutely, yes. Please come and have a chat, because we know that there is lots of experience
Yeah.
from a lived and worked perspective in the church. So and even if you haven't actually, and you've got this heart to want to help people, we would really love to hear from you, and hopefully we can look at some dates and times of what works for putting the support group together, and get it off the ground.
Fantastic. Hannah, it's really, really exciting, and we're really excited. So thank you so much for all you've done to get it to this point, and just look forward to the next steps. Thank you so
It's a
much.
pleasure.
Bye for now.
Bye.